Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to trace the really fascinating story of how we design for learning. Seriously, it's a journey that takes us from these old, clunky teaching machines all the way to the incredibly human-focused experiences we're all trying to create today. So let's dive in and see how we got from there to here. When you boil it all down, this entire history is really a quest to answer one big question. How do we design the perfect learning experience? It's this question that has been the driving force for educators, for psychologists, for designers for, well, more than a century. Let's take a look at how the answers have changed over time. Okay, but before we jump into that whole timeline, we gotta get on the same page. To really get what's going on, we need a shared language. We need to define what we're actually talking about when we talk about, learning and design. First up, the big one, learning itself. At its core, yeah, it's about picking up new information, but it's so much more than just memorizing facts for a test, right? It's about actually developing skills, gaining real understanding, and maybe even a little bit of wisdom. This is the goal. This is what it's all about. So then we have instruction. Now, I bet when you hear that word, you picture a teacher lecturing at the front of a classroom. But the modern definition is way, way broader. It's anything you do to help someone learn. It could be a tool, a conversation, even just the way a room is set up. If it's designed to help, it's instruction. And that brings us to a really crucial difference we need to get straight. Theory versus strategy. Think of it this way. A theory is the why. It's trying to explain how our brains even work when we learn. It's like the blueprint. A strategy, on the other hand, that's the how-to. It's the step-by-step game plan for actually making the learning happen. So one explains, the other prescribes. Big difference. All right. Now that we've got our key terms locked down, let's rewind the clock and start our quest. The first big wave in learning design wasn't about computers or apps. It was all about psychology. It was about trying to create the very first blueprints of the human mind itself. And back then, you had these three major camps, and they saw the learner in completely different ways. First, you had behaviorism, which saw the learner as basically a passive recipient. You just respond to rewards and punishments. Then came cognitivism, which was a huge shift. It imagined the learner as an active computer, processing information. And finally, you get constructivism, which sees the learner as a builder, actively constructing their own knowledge through their experiences. So these theories really laid the groundwork for everything that followed. The next massive shift was in the field we now call instructional technology. And this is where the focus moves away from just thinking about individual tools and starts thinking about the entire system of learning. This is really where the field starts to grow up. And you can literally watch the field mature right here on this timeline. Back in the 1920s, it was called visual instruction, and it was all about the media, films, slides, that kind of thing. Fast forward to the 60s, and the focus isn't on the what anymore, it's on the how. It's a systematic process. By 94, it's a full-blown professional field with 5 core areas. And then, the most recent update in 2008 adds these 2 absolutely critical ideas. The goal isn't just learning, it's about improving performance, and you have to do it all ethically. And that brings us right up to the modern era. So we've tried to understand the mind, we've built out the system, and now the latest evolution puts the focus squarely where, let's be honest, it probably should have been all along, on the actual person who's doing the learning. And that's where Learning Experience Design, or LXD, comes in. Now, this isn't about throwing out instructional design. It's in evolution. It takes all the rigor and process from ID and mashes it up with the empathy and human focus of user experience design, or UX. The goal isn't just to make an effective product anymore. It's to create an entire learning journey. So what does that shift actually look like? Well, think of it this way. Traditional instructional design is laser-focused on the product and making sure you master the content, often with a very rigid step-by-step process. LXD, on the other hand, cares about the learner's entire journey. It cares about their process, their feelings, their context, and it uses more flexible, human-centered methods like design thinking to get there. This whole modern approach really stands on 4 key pillars. First, it's human-centric, and that doesn't just mean the learner. It means everyone involved. It's still grounded in all those learning theories we talked about, but it adds this crucial layer of being socioculturally sensitive, understanding where people are coming from. And finally, to make all that happen, it borrows all these great, proven methods from the world of user experience. So, after this whole century-long journey, what does it actually take to be a learning designer today? What does the modern toolkit really look like? Well, check this out. A recent look at a ton of job postings tells a really powerful story. The number one skill showing up in a whopping 92% of posts is collaboration. It's not about being a lone genius designer anymore. It's about being able to work with other people. After that, you've got the practical stuff, like project management, and of course, the technical skills to actually make multimedia. It's a real mix of people skills and tech skills. And honestly, this quote just sums up the destination of this entire journey perfectly. After all those years of focusing on the hardware or the process or the materials, the conclusion is crystal clear. When the learner is the focus, then the idea of facilitating learning must also focus on the learner. It's as simple and as powerful as that. So, we've gone from trying to basically program people's minds to designing these rich, holistic human experiences. It's been a pretty incredible evolution, hasn't it? Which, of course, leaves us with one last big question. What's the next frontier in this never-ending quest to design the perfect way for us to learn?